In this video, we're going to talk about some interesting conversation about changes to the Phantom, talk about the Phantom versus the Vandal, and what guns should get changed, if any. And we're going to break it all down, but the GameLeap website is the best place if you want to climb very quickly and improve. We have everything you need, all the tools, advanced guides, and so much more on the GameLeap website. So do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below. Now, this comes from specifically Tenz, who definitely has a slightly controversial take here, stating this on Twitter. Quote, "In my opinion, reduce Phantom bullet count. Watching/playing games feels so much more boring when people just spam their full 30 bullet clip for free without being punished and get lucky kills. Trying to live in a Vandal meta, so obviously some bias there." Now, this was definitely a controversial take. Some people did agree, but even players on Tenz's own team, like Zoms, were like, how do I delete someone else's tweet, in heavy opposition to this suggestion. But let's actually dig a little deeper and talk about why Tenz feels this way. Well, specifically, the pro meta recently has been very centered around Viper and Astra, and when there's so much smoke, so much LOS denial, and you have a weapon like the Phantom that has a very large magazine, no tracer, so you can just spray like crazy, you're almost incentivized to spray every single smoke you see so that enemies get punished if they get pushed through, or even if they're just standing on the other side, you could potentially get some free damage or even a free kill. Now, this could feel incredibly poor on the receiving end of this, and it could seem pretty boring to watch when you just see people just mag dumping their Phantoms into smokes over and over again. However, I do think that the balance between the Phantom and the Vandal is more or less balanced. The Phantom is a bit ahead, but we also got to think about the meta that we're in. This meta has two controllers often played, and like I said, there's LOS denial everywhere. Imagine a much different meta where only one of the two controllers are played, or there's less smoke uptime in general. All of a sudden, that value that you get out of the Phantom and that play pattern is seen a lot less. And in that environment, I don't think that we would be dealing with this sort of quote-unquote boring play nearly as much. And I think this really opens up another conversation that I've been wanting to have for a while, in that the agent meta and the maps that are seeing play, or the maps that are created, can directly change what weapons are good or bad. For instance, all of a sudden on a map like Breeze, where there's much more open sight lines, the Vandal sees a massive uptick in pick rate in all ranks, but specifically even in pro play, it's seeing an uptick in pick rate. So you could just look at the stats of that map and you could say, hey, maybe the Vandal is a little bit too strong. But if you look at the big picture, all of a sudden you see that there are many maps where the Phantom is actually favored. And in fact, depending on the region that you look at, majority the Phantom is favored overall, even if it's not by like an overwhelming number. Now, imagine a future where Riot only makes maps that are similar to Breeze, more open sight lines, bigger, with the one-tap capability of the Vandal from range is actually more optimal. All of a sudden, that pick rate might go in that direction. And conversely, you add a lot of characters that have LOS denial. You either create metas that have double controllers in them, so there's just a lot of fucking bullshit smokes in your way, so you're spraying your Phantom all the time. Now the Phantom pick rate is going to go up, and you could even create duelists with LOS denial, and that would increase the Phantom's pick rate. But conversely, if you make more agents that can utilize the Vandal a bit better, because they can potentially hold an off angle, get a one tap, and get out. So for example, characters like Reyna, Jet, or even Chamber, all of a sudden the Vandal pick rate will actually improve with more introduction to abilities like that enable the Vandal. And I really do think that understanding that not only lets you understand the differences between the Phantom and the Vandal, their strengths and weaknesses and where they lie, but you get to look at the grand scheme of things, where even just a simple agent balance change or an introduction to a new map can dramatically change the pick rate of weapons. And sometimes when you look at some type of play pattern that you don't like to see in pro play, it's actually not the fault of the weapon, but the meta in which the weapon is played in that is being dictated by the maps and the agents, which is just a really weird and interesting concept, but I personally really like it. And I also, if you haven't guessed, I'm not on the side of nerfing the Phantom or changing the Phantom in any way. I actually think that Riot hit almost a perfect balance between these two weapons, and further balancing should be centered around the meta, creating a more healthy meta agent environment, and that will bring these weapons closer in line and allow their strengths and weaknesses to be more comp related, agent related, and map related, which I think is an overwhelmingly good thing to have that sort of diversity and also have enough wiggle room in there for the personal preferences to shine through and have a pro player favor one or the other without it being a throw, because one is not overwhelmingly better than the other. And I really do like that state. But as usual, I want to hear your opinion down below. Do you agree with my take? Do you understand what Tenz is saying? Do you agree that the Phantom or the Vandal need to get nerfed or buffed? I want to hear your hot weapon takes down below, and why the GameLeap website is the best place to quickly improve with aim drills, tips and tricks, map guides, and so much more. So if you really want to level up your game and climb with ease, do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below.